For 40 years, something has been hunting villagers in Peru's Amazon jungle. Armored figures floating silently on hovering platforms using technology that shouldn't exist. When 15-year-old Talia fought back and escaped, she revealed the truth about Los Palacaras, the face peelers. I'm Carol Ann. Welcome to the In-Between. What is the one thing that makes you undeniably you? Your face. No two faces are the same. Well, not usually. Here's a picture of my mom and her twin sister. Can you pick which one is my mom? Nope, it's the other one. Our face is such a huge part of our identity and sense of who we are that it's impossible to quantify. So what would you do if someone tried to steal it? Well, apparently, that's what's been going on in Peru for the last 40 years. Yes, in this episode, we are going back to Peru, land of the Nazca lions and the Nazca mummies. And no, I am not being paid by the Peruvian Board of Tourism. Maybe I should be. But this time, we are heading further north into the heart of the Amazon jungle and the supposed home of Los Palacaras, the face peelers. Right up front, I have to issue an apology to all of you that this story did not hit my radar back in 2023 when it hit everyone else's radar. I have no idea how I could have missed this one. But in digging in, I found out that this did not just start in 2023. This has been going on for decades. So what do I mean by this exactly? Well, it seems as though villages deep in the jungles of Peru have been under attack for the better part of 40 years by something. I don't know if it's human or aliens or animals. I have no idea. So for this episode, I am going to refer to them as attackers. So the people of these Peruvian villages have been attacked by these attackers whose primary mission seems to be stealing people's faces. And unlike many other cryptids or strange beings that we talk about, these attackers are not rooted in Peruvian folklore. Don't get me wrong, they certainly have their share of crazy legends, like the Pish Taco. Not Fish Taco. A creepy white guy with hypnotic glowing yellow eyes that sucks the fat out of its victims. Or even older are the stories of the Supai, a shape-shifting spirit who would consume the life force of its victims. Unlike these nightmares, the face peelers have only been a thing for roughly 40 years. Today's younger adults remember being told by their mothers to get home before dark or the Palacaras will get you. Regular boogeyman stuff. But the generation before them will tell you that their parents never used the Palacaras as the boogeyman story to keep the kids in line. They never heard of them as children. Now, the earliest account I can find comes from a mention in a 2023 Facebook post from a man talking about how the attacks happening around that time are not new. That he knew of a guy in 1993 who was found dead on his farm with all of his organs missing. Not exactly face peeler MO, but that is who his family and friends blame it on. And then we have this story. September 26, 2013, 44-year-old Juan Cervantes is seen tying one on, in not just one town, but in two. Then he decides it's a good idea to take a canoe out on Lake Emiria. So, surprise, surprise, when the next morning rolls around and no one has seen him. They start a search around the lake and find his empty canoe about 600 feet from shore. They go out to get the canoe, but they don't see anything else. As they're bringing the canoe back in, Juan's body pops up to the surface from somewhere deep under the water. I don't specifically know when they started the search or when they found the boat, but Juan's body was recovered early in the morning of September 28th, so he had likely been in the water less than 48 hours. Juan's autopsy showed no signs of drowning and no signs of any kind of trauma to the body, so he wasn't attacked and he died before he entered the water. The only thing found that might be linked to a cause of death is that his face is missing. Now you know why they call them face peelers. Some community members speculated that he must have died of a heart attack or something and then fell over into the water where the fish in the lake must have eaten his face. Okay, Plausible, but if the fish were that hungry, why didn't they start eating all of him? Why just his face? People in the region report various attacks that are blamed on the face peelers throughout the years 2000 to 2023. But 2023 is when all hell breaks loose. And we get our first good look at what a face peeler really looks like. And just a note, some of the dates are a little sketchy, but I've done everything I can to build an accurate timeline. So, it's the summer of 2023. The people in the village of San Antonio de Pintuyacu in the Alto Nanay region of Peru, the indigenous Iquitu people, are not having a great summer. Just to give you an idea of where this is, there's no way to get to this village except by a 10-hour boat ride from Iquitos. The reason they're not having a great summer is that for weeks, something has been trying to get into their village at night. Pairs of somethings floating through the air about 3 feet off the ground wearing head-to-toe black body armor. Nobody knows who they are or what they want, but they are freaking people out. So the men of the village have taken to spending most of the night, every night, sitting on their porches with their flashlights and their shotguns, trying to protect their families from these unknown invaders. On July 11th, 2023, Talia Davila Diaz is 15 years old and lives in the village. It's just getting dark outside around 6:30 at night, and Talia decides to go out into her backyard to pick some fruit for dinner. So as she's picking the fruit, she feels a rush of air from behind her, scattering the leaves in front of her. She turns to look and sees a 6 to 7 foot tall man hovering behind her on this flying disc like a hoverboard platform, covered head to toe in some kind of hard black armor with piercing bright yellow eyes. He lands next to her, grabs her, and puts his hand over her mouth as a second guy, looking just like the first one, comes up from the gully in the backyard, swoops in, and grabs Talia's feet. The two attackers jump back on their hoverboards, one behind her holding her mouth, the other one in front of her holding her feet, and take her to the edge of her yard behind a chicken coop. The one holding her feet takes out some powder and a liquid and puts them together into some kind of mixture, takes out a nasal syringe, sucks up the solution, and shoots it up Talia's nose. Instantly, she starts feeling kind of sedated. He then takes out a tube of some kind of cream and starts rubbing the cream on Talia's face. Again, instantly, Talia says she could feel her face going numb. She hears one say to the other, in Spanish, be careful, don't use too much, you'll ruin the flesh." Then they take out what must be some kind of laser scalpel and start making an incision on Talia's neck. She starts to struggle enough that they actually have to start over with a second incision. But Talia is not done yet. She manages to get her hand up under the edge of the helmet of the one holding her from behind and starts pushing his helmet up. And it's working. As the helmet moves up, the attacker lets go of Talia to grab the helmet to keep it from coming off, which upsets the whole apple cart, and they drop her. This is her chance. She starts screaming for help. The attackers know the jig is up, and one says, "Come on, we gotta get out of here." And the other says, "Well, we just can't leave her here." And he grabs her by the hair and starts dragging her. The villagers hear her scream and come running and are right there within just a few seconds. The attacker finally lets go of Talia's hair, and both attackers shoot straight up and off into the night. The villagers find Talia unconscious with a swollen face and blood on her neck. Luckily for her, the cuts on her neck were only superficial, and the swelling in her face eventually went away, although it took a good week to get back to normal. One thing to note is that the village is pretty much the last stop before heading into endless Amazon jungle. And because of that, and the fact that they are a 10-hour boat ride to anything close to a city, the Peruvian Navy has given them a satellite uplink to be the communication point for anyone who needs help in the area. So Talia's attack was the last straw. They jump on the satellite phone and demand that the Navy and the police get out there and protect them. The nature of Talia's attack requires the police to open an investigation. So the police show up with a Navy escort, take everyone's statement, and leave. Some investigation. Then the police turn around to the media and tell them that it was gold miners wearing jetpacks trying to scare the villagers away from their land so they can mine the gold there. The local media had actually been doing a pretty good job of covering these events with some sense of gravity. But once the gold miner theory was trotted out, media outlets all over the world just run with it and don't look back. Which is too bad because that is not the end of the story. On July 15th, so just a few days after Talia's experience, a teacher named Silas Soto from San Luis in Iparia was attacked by the same kind of attacker who burned his head with some kind of laser. In late July or early August, Raul Pina Inuma has a run-in with these beings that leaves him knocked unconscious with bruising all over his arms and neck from trying to fight them off. Then there's this footage uploaded to X on August 5th of 2023, so probably taken just a few days prior to that. It shows some residents of Nauta, which is actually a larger city of over 30,000 people, shining their flashlights at something in the trees behind a house. Of course, the footage isn't that great, but whatever that is, I don't think it's human. On August 21st, a man named Anderson is out hunting with his brother Claudio. They're in a boat and can see these lights starting to appear all around the village. And then they see lights following their boat. After a few minutes, the lights had moved closer until they were just about 50 feet overhead. Anderson turns on his flashlight to get a better look and see a person floating on some kind of hovering disc that was transparent. He goes for his gun, but the being flew away before he can get a shot off. And even if he did manage to shoot it, I don't think it would have mattered. Several people have shot at these invaders, but whatever armor they're wearing seems to be bulletproof. Villagers have hit them and seen them stumble a bit, but they just keep going. Also in August, Mrs. Marquita Chuandama Narvez is walking home from her farm when something attacks her and cuts her cheek open. There are even more sightings in Wawaim and Wampami. On September 2nd, 2023, Pablo Vardalis sees one of these flying people hovering around his village in Pucuna Lake, takes a shot at it, and gets shot with a laser beam that knocks him out for several hours. September 5th, Kevin Machari is attacked by a flying being while riding his motorcycle in Sapito. Another attack in September is in Bagazan, where a teenage boy is found with deep lacerations on both sides of his neck. Luckily for him, he was found quickly and taken to the hospital for treatment and survived. There is video available if you want to find it, but I can't show it here because I want to keep my channel. But suffice to say, unlike Talia's wounds, these are deep. This kid is lucky to be alive. And the worst one is one I can't even show you. Again, it's too graphic for YouTube. It's from sometime in 2023, taken somewhere in the same vicinity as all of these other reports. But this one really shows why they are called face peelers. The video's out there if you want to go find it, but be warned, it is not for the faint of heart. It shows the police picking up a body in rigor mortis from under a bunch of banana leaves on a beach and carrying him away from the water closer to the camera. As they bring him closer, it is impossible to miss that 3/4 of his face and all of the tissue underneath is completely stripped away, leaving bleached white bone. The entire face and left side of his head is gone down to his collarbone, but the right side is still there. One more thing that is impossible not to notice is that the line where the flesh has been taken off is a clean, pristine cut line. Animals do not do this. Piranhas do not do this. It is absolutely the human version of the cow mutilation pictures that you've probably seen in the past, where part of the flesh of a cow's head has been surgically removed. It's just like that. Now, it is possible that the video is a hoax. It's a dummy. It's a prop that someone created for a movie or something. If that's the case, bravo. But I find that hard to believe. When the police first lift him, you can see his spine moving as his head falls back. Right after that, one of the policemen slips on a banana leaf and stumbles. And when he does, you can tell that whatever he is carrying has some real weight to it. It's heavy. I can't say for sure, but it looks pretty damn real to me. One interesting thing to note about all of these different encounters is that they all describe the exact same thing. Something that looks very similar to the Green Goblin in the Spider-Man movie, but it's not that either. And it sure isn't somebody flying around with a jetpack. So what exactly are we dealing with here? Well, there are a few options. The first option is the excuse by the government that these are people from an illegal mining operation wearing jetpacks, trying to scare people off their land so the miners can get the gold. Now, I know cartels have the money to equip themselves with the latest and greatest military gadgets, but the tech used here is something that we've never even come close to seeing. These things move around in complete silence, except when they're taking off straight up at high speeds. Then they produce a slight hum. And they can maneuver in and out of the thick trees with no problem. The jetpacks we have today don't move that gracefully around obstructions and are as noisy as all get out. Not to mention that it's not even the rich cartels that are being blamed, just illegal mining operations. Illicit gold mining is profitable, but not cartel profitable. Another idea that's been thrown around is organ harvesters. Back around 2008, in the Pucallpa area, there was a rash of bodies found with their stomachs cut open, organs removed, and wads of cash stuffed inside their torsos. Those attacks were also blamed on the face peelers. But if that's the case in this 2023 rash of incidents, then the organ stealers are terrible at their jobs. Not one single organ was taken. Could they be aliens? I can't rule that one out. Assailants flying around using advanced technology and leaving bodies in their wake that look like human versions of cattle mutilations that we've all seen pictures of for decades.
You're one ugly motherfucker.
Not to mention that Peru, in general, has been a UFO hotspot for decades. They see them all the time. So if aliens are cruising around looking for test subjects, what better place than in the remote villages of the Amazon jungle? The last option, which I think is the most probable option, is that this is all some kind of government black ops program using advanced tech that we just haven't seen yet. Talia is the only person to hear them speak, and she describes them as the Peruvian and the Gringo. One is the Peruvian because he spoke the same Spanish dialect that she does. The other, she calls the Gringo because he spoke Spanish, but not her Spanish. Interesting that they both speak Spanish. And their moves just sound very human. The way they grab her legs and cover her mouth. Can't say that I've heard that behavior coming from any alien abduction encounters I've read about. The only thing I can't really square with this option is the description that the attackers are like 6 to 7 feet tall. These guys are big. Can they still be special ops guys? Yes. The tallest height restriction in a U.S. service recruit is 6 foot 8 inches, or 6 foot 6 inches for the Marines. But what are the chances that every one of these things that people see are that tall? And they have been reported as possessing superhuman capabilities, like jumping over houses. So while it seems probable that they're human, they don't seem human. The good news is that by all accounts, there have been no further attacks in that area of Peru. But something was happening. And if it can happen to them, who's to say it can't happen someplace else? To someone else? Maybe me. maybe you. While I used several sources for the information in this episode, I'd like to thank Timothy Alberino for most of it. Not only did he take a trip to San Antonio de Pintuyacu to interview Talia and the other witnesses, and to Nauta to check out where that alien in the tree footage was shot, but he also brought the people of San Antonio much needed supplies and night vision goggles with recording capability for any future encounters. My hat is off to him and to the Conduit Church of Franklin, Tennessee for funding the supplies and equipment. If you would like to watch more about those Peruvian UFO encounters, watch this episode right here. Be careful out there, and I will see you here again on the In-Between.